So getting back into some Warzone tips and best class videos, I want to take a moment to share my favorite FFAR loadout. This is among a few weapons that have been getting picked up in the meta recently, and I've seen a few setups that I mostly agree with, but they often neglect one thing or another that I personally end up using. Some of the suggestions I've seen are just flat out wrong based on the broken attachment descriptions on Cold War weapons. Now, I've heard people go as far as to claim this is the best weapon in Warzone right now, but honestly, it's just not accurate enough for really long-range engagements. I do think it's very good in Warzone for close to medium-range engagements, which means this fits perfectly with an overkill sniper loadout. I definitely put this into a top 5 list for Warzone, but not the absolute best. Despite what most people say, there is no way to turn this into a zero recoil gun. It will always have recoil, but it can become far easier to control when set up properly. Another way to compensate for the recoil is to tap fire it for those long-range engagements, because otherwise it might just end up bouncing around the outside of the target. This is effective because the recoil center speed does seem to be decently fast. Without further ado, let's get into the attachments and I'll explain why I'm using each one. First up is the agency suppressor. Now normally I don't mind sacrificing a suppressor to use something like a muzzle brake to tame recoil on a few weapons. However, the agency suppressor has nearly identical recoil compared to a muzzle brake. In fact, I think this might be slightly better. This just comes down to another inaccurate attachment description. Next up, I use the reinforced heavy barrel. I've seen the Ranger barrel recommended for this, but while that bullet velocity is a bit higher on the Ranger, you don't get the range increase that the reinforced barrel offers. I personally don't see much difference at all in terms of velocity between the two unless I'm shooting at extreme ranges and then counting frames. You won't be using this gun at those ranges, so use the reinforced barrel. You always want to use the bruiser grip on this gun. This doesn't indicate that it has any recoil reduction at all, but it offers the best vertical as well as the best horizontal recoil reduction. Just by reading the attachment descriptions, you might be fooled into using the field agent grip or even the speed grip, but those are measurably worse in comparison. Just another attachment that isn't honest with you about what it does. You'll want to use the 50 round fast mag as well. This is ideal for both its rate of fire as well as close quarter situations that this gun thrives in. The fifth attachment really comes down to two for me. Either the Raider stock that gives a huge bonus to ADS move speed, or the Diamondback reflex sight. Now I often go for the reflex sight because I feel like the reticle doesn't bounce around and distract me as much as the awful iron sights on this gun, but another reason I like the sight is because it boosts that longer range potential of the gun, and the close range potential is already pretty great without needing to boost the ADS move speed. It's kind of a balancing act in turning this into as well-rounded as it can be. If I wanted to maximize a gun for close quarters, I would just use the MAC-10. So that's my preferred setup for the FFAR. Hopefully they fix all of the attachment descriptions soon, because right now there's a lot of issues that you might not be aware of unless you've tested it manually. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time.